the door that never closes. No one truly knows what death is until they step beyond that line, and then for some mysterious reason return. Have you ever wondered if we die, what awaits on the other side? Is it a gentle, radiant light of heaven, or a cold abyss where shadows howl like 1,000 tormented souls? Hundreds, even thousands of people around the world have stood at the very edge of that abyss. They didn't completely die, nor were they fully alive. In the moment their heart stopped beating, their brain fell into unconsciousness, and their soul seemed to lift from the body. It was then that the gate to the other world, what the ancients called the Demon's Gate, opened. No one passes through that gate and returns with their sanity untouched. Some describe sprawling meadows filled with divine light, angelic hymns echoing from afar, and a weightless feeling like being embraced by unconditional love. But others, a number not small, report something completely different. They say they were pulled into a swirling, bottomless void. There, they were surrounded by beings not of this world. Flames burned eternally, the air choked with the stench of sulfur. Their souls were clawed and torn by talons, and the hateful eyes of twisted entities so terrifying that merely naming them would send shivers down any living spine. And yet, they returned. They came back forever haunted by the memory. They became living proof of something science cannot grasp, and religion only hints at life after death. We live as though this existence is all there is. But what if behind the veil of reality, there is a place where every soul is measured, weighed, and judged? Imagine you have only seconds left to breathe. The world around you fades, your eyes close, and then, it's not the end, but the beginning of a journey no one ever wishes to take, a terrifying passage through the Demon's Gate. What you are about to read is a collection of true experiences shared by those who have died and then returned. Some were doctors, some were atheists, some once scoffed at the idea of God, but they all changed. They changed because they saw. They saw what humanity tries to forget: the cost of sin and the gate that never truly closes until your soul is judged. If you're ready, open your eyes and follow them into a place where heaven and hell are no longer abstract ideas. Into the Demon's Gate, and not everyone makes it back. Master Passport and the Storm of Fate, March 1992, in the state of Georgia, USA. On a mild spring evening, Master Passport, a successful, rational businessman and self-declared atheist, had just finished dinner with clients at an upscale restaurant in suburban Atlanta. He was a hard-nosed man, a believer in logic, and money never entertained stories about spirits or the afterlife. To him, death was final, nothing more. But just 1 minute after stepping outside that restaurant, that belief would shatter forever. Gunfire erupted, tearing through the night. 3 young men, drunken and enraged after being refused service, returned with a gun. No one had time to react. In a flash, Master Passport felt a searing heat tear through his chest. He collapsed onto the sidewalk, blood soaking his white shirt, the streetlights blurring like tears. He heard screaming, running footsteps, sirens, then nothing, just darkness. And yet, strangely, he was still aware. No pain, no movement, but he existed somehow. Then the darkness began to shift. It wasn't just a void, it had presence, thick and cold. He felt himself being pulled like falling into a bottomless pit. A voice echoed not through his ears, but inside his mind, distorted and angry, like thousands of tormented souls screaming in unison. He wanted to scream, but had no voice. Suddenly, a flame ignited in the darkness, not ordinary fire, living fire pulsing like a heartbeat. Around him stood towering figures, their flesh torn and hanging eyes like bottomless pits. They weren't human, they weren't animals, and they looked at him not with pity, but with pure hatred. He tried to run, but he had no body. He was only a drifting sense, a soul. One being stepped closer. Its face was slashed skin and muscle stitched together with what looked like thorns. It didn't speak, but its thoughts cut directly into his mind. You thought you were the master of your life, didn't you, Master? Passport saw every moment of his life, replay every lie, every act of corruption, betrayal, and cold-heartedness. Each memory stabbed at his soul, and he couldn't escape. There is no money here, no law, only truth. The voice sliced like a scalpel. He was dragged deeper. Screams filled the void, not just from others, but from himself. In that moment, he understood this was no dream. This was where souls are stripped bare, purified through pain. Then faintly, a light. Not overwhelming, just a gentle glow, but with a pull stronger than gravity. He reached for it desperate like a drowning man, grasping for one last lifeline. As the light touched him, everything, the fire, the screams, the demonic beings vanished. He opened his eyes. The hospital monitor beeped wildly. A nurse screamed in shock. He had moved. He had been clinically dead for over 4 minutes. From that day on, Master Passport gave up his business empire. He became a preacher, traveling across America to share what he had seen, not to frighten, but to awaken. In every talk, he ended with one sentence. You don't have to believe me. Just understand this. Nothing is more precious than your soul, because there are places you never want to go. But one day you'll have no choice. You'll have to walk through that gate, whether you're ready or not. The doctor and the children of light. His name was George Rodanea, a brilliant scientist, a graduate of medical school in Russia, and a specialist in neurology. To him, every so-called spiritual phenomenon was just a reaction of the brain, an illusion, a hallucination. Death is the end, he once said coldly, like a syringe falling onto a sterile tray. But fate has its own way of mocking human arrogance. In 1976, during a short walk near his clinic in Georgia, then still part of the Soviet Union, he was struck by a speeding car. The collision was so severe that he was pronounced dead at the scene. His body was sent straight to the morgue. No one questioned it. The family prepared for burial. His body remained refrigerated for 3 days. 3 days that should have been eternal silence. But in that death, he awoke. Not in this world, but in a place that defied every scientific definition. He recalled, I felt no weight. I saw no body, but I still existed. And around me was light, not physical light, but a light that could think, that had emotions, that had a soul. He floated through a formless space. Yet it wasn't frightening. It was so peaceful, he wept. Then he saw them small shapes approaching. They looked like children, but not quite human. Their bodies seemed made of pure energy, glowing from within. They didn't speak, but he understood everything they thought. They touched his soul, and he felt something he had never known throughout his years as a doctor: unconditional love. I saw my own wrongdoings, the times I mocked patience, the times I treated the human soul as a cheap concept, and I felt ashamed. They did not scold him. They forgave him. They had only one message: go back. You still have work to do. When he awoke, everyone was horrified. A morgue worker screamed when the corpse began to move and breathe. He was rushed to a hospital this time to be truly saved and fully recovered within weeks. George Rodaniah was no longer an atheist. He left neurology behind, studied theology and philosophy, wrote books, shared his story, and dedicated the rest of his life to teaching about life after death, not by theory, but by his own soul's journey. Many asked him, "How do you know it wasn't just your brain hallucinating from lack of oxygen?" He would smile quietly. "You can not understand unless you've been there. But believe me, the soul is real, and that light is waiting for you if you live a life worthy of it." Not all who returned from the demon's gate carry horror. Some were welcomed, some were healed, some were loved, but it never happens by chance. That light doesn't come to everyone. It chooses those who've learned, those who still have a chance, those who are truly repentant. The young woman and the demon beside the bed. Her name was Jennifer. She was just 22 when it happened. She wasn't religious. Raised in an atheist family, Jennifer lived with logic, laughter, and confidence. She was modern, carefree, and just a bit arrogant. She once mocked people who believed in angels or demons. To her, those were old fairy tales until one night. Jennifer was rushed to the emergency room after an overdose. Her heart stopped for 2 minutes and 47 seconds. Her brain flatlined. Medical staff prepared to deliver the devastating news to her family. But Jennifer didn't vanish. She opened her eyes, not in the hospital, but in another place. A place with no walls, no ceiling, no sound, only a space thick like black fog. And within that darkness, she felt something watching her. A presence, its gaze not human, not merciful. She tried to scream, but her throat produced no sound. There was no sound, but there were whispers like ancient curses crawling through her mind. Then she saw it. A creature stood at the far end of the hazy room, twisted, burned flesh, rusty metal shards embedded in its skin like nails. Its mouth never opened, but a screeching voice rang through Jennifer's mind. "I know you. I've waited for you a long time." Jennifer trembled. She felt her soul being crushed. From deep in her memory, every selfish act, every cruel laugh, every moment of arrogance rose like knives stabbing her from within. "You chose this, and no one can save you here," the voice hissed like freezing steel. From the ground, skeletal hands emerged, as if the floor was the back of 1,000,000 buried souls writhing to tear apart a new victim. She screamed. She forgot who she was. Her identity unraveled. She was no longer human, just fear pinned to the black. Then, a faint voice, not from the creature, not from outside, from deep within her heart. "If there's even a spark of light in you, call my name." She didn't know who it was. But in desperation, she whispered, barely audible, "God, if you really exist." Instantly, the creature shrieked as if burned. The space trembled. A blade of light sliced through the dark. The hands vanished. The air grew light. She was pulled away as if ripped from a nightmare. Jennifer awoke in the hospital bed, her breath shallow, but her eyes no longer the same. She had seen hell. Since that day, Jennifer never joked about spirituality again. She didn't become a nun. She didn't go on television to share her story. But in every sentence she spoke afterward, there was caution, as if one wrong word might summon that thing again. When asked, "Do you believe hell is real?" she simply smiled, but her hand always clutched a small wooden crucifix as if it was her last ticket out of that gate. The blind girl and a glimpse of heaven. Her name was Sarah. She was born completely blind. Doctors confirmed that her retinas had never developed a rare condition with no known cure. Sarah had never seen her mother's face. She had no concept of sunlight. She couldn't imagine colors. Her world was built from sound, touch, and stories told by others. Her mother, a devout Christian, raised Sarah with love scripture and nightly prayers, despite carrying the quiet sorrow that her daughter might never see the world. Then when Sarah was 11 years old, she contracted severe meningitis. The disease progressed rapidly. Within 2 days of being hospitalized, she fell into a deep coma. Doctors did everything they could, but at one point, confirmed in her medical records, her heart stopped beating for over 3 minutes. In that space of stillness, Sarah, the girl who had never seen even a flicker of light, entered a place where light was everything. When she woke up, what shocked the doctors and family wasn't just that she had survived, it was what she described. "I was in a place so bright, not harsh, but gentle, like Mom's voice when she sings to me at night." She described standing in a vast meadow full of blooming flowers and said each flower sang a different melody. She claimed she could see music floating around like shimmering ribbons. The light didn't come from a sun, but from everything, from the grass, the air, even herself. "I saw myself, Mom, for the first time, and I was beautiful. Not beautiful like people say to make me feel good. Beautiful because I felt loved." Sarah spoke of a crystal bridge glowing with brilliance. On the other side, white-robed figures smiled and waved. One stepped forward, knelt down, and said softly, "We're still waiting for you, but not yet." The figure kissed her forehead. The light folded back like a petal, closing at dusk. And she woke up. Sarah wept not from pain, but from missing that place. After that, Sarah lived a quiet but unusual life. She remained blind, but she began painting, not with her eyes, but through feel guidance and what she called memory of light. Her artwork, described by professionals as surreal and otherworldly, was filled with radiant colors and vivid imagery of what looked like heaven. One particular painting unsettled many a crystal bridge with glowing white silhouettes waving from the far side. Sarah painted the light she had never seen with her eyes, only with her soul. She never became famous. She didn't open galleries. She chose a peaceful life, teaching art to orphans, often saying something that would leave people in awe. Some things are only seen clearly. When you close your eyes, when someone asked her, "Are you afraid of dying?" she smiled. "No. I've stood at the edge once. God just said, 'Not yet.'" Lost souls in the gray zone. Not everyone who dies goes immediately to judgment. Some souls remain behind, not damned enough for hell, not pure enough for the light. They get stuck in a liminal place that people call by many names: the gray zone, the middle realm, or crueler still, the hallway of the forgotten. One of the most chilling stories about this place comes from a man named Thomas, a wartime photojournalist who survived multiple near-death experiences. In 2005, while on assignment in Iraq, his vehicle hit a landmine. He was brought to a field hospital with no pulse. Medical records confirmed his heart had stopped for 6 minutes and 12 seconds. During that time, Thomas saw no light, no flames, no creatures. He saw a hallway, endless, featureless, suffocatingly gray. Everything was ash-colored. The floor, the walls, the ceiling. There were no doors, no windows, no people, but there were sounds, faint whispers, footsteps, not close, but on the other side of the walls. He tried walking forward, but no matter how far he went, he ended up exactly where he started. I walked for what felt like hours, but I never moved. It was like I was being punished, not by pain, but by pure meaninglessness. Their time didn't flow. He felt his memories being eaten, his name, his mother's face, his favorite song, all faded like fog at dawn. Then he saw them, shadowy figures, silent, faceless. They passed him without notice. Some sat frozen like statues. Others wandered in circles, as if trapped in an eternal loop. No one spoke, no one listened, only eyes empty and cold. I realized I was in between, and if nothing changed, I would be here forever. Then from far off a voice, not loud, but familiar, a woman's voice, weak, trembling. "Thomas, come back, son." He turned, saw nothing, but light, just a sliver, crept in from a crack at the hallway's edge, barely enough for a soul to slip through. He ran. Thomas woke up in the ER. A nurse screamed. He had returned. But no one understood why he cried all night, not from joy, but from terror at the thought of ever going back. Later, Thomas visited a hospice. In the quiet room of an old woman near death, he heard it again, the same whispers echoing from some parallel space. As he gazed into her fading eyes, he saw gray, a shadow drifting inside her iris, like her soul was already halfway into that voiceless realm. Spiritual leaders, priests, shamans, and researchers agree the gray zone exists. It is where souls get trapped by regret, attachment, resentment, or the emptiness of their life. They cannot ascend, they cannot fall, they just wait. Many so-called hauntings, strange midnight noises, or fleeting figures caught on security cameras are not demons, but echoes of lost souls not yet freed. They don't want to harm. They just don't know they're dead. The invisible hand. When a soul is pulled back somewhere along the razor's edge between life and death, there exists something science can't explain. A moment when all vital signs stop, when every chance of survival vanishes, but then something or someone intervenes. Not a doctor, not a machine, but an invisible will reaching in from the other side of existence. In 1998, a devastating car accident occurred in the outskirts of Utah, USA. A mother and her 18-month-old daughter, Lily, plunged off a bridge into a frozen river after hitting a patch of ice. The mother died on impact. The baby girl was trapped upside down in the back seat, submerged in near-freezing water for 14 hours. No one noticed. No one heard. Until the next morning, when a police patrol happened to drive by the area. As they passed over the bridge, they heard a woman's voice, soft, desperate, calling for help from below. Following the sound, they discovered the car half submerged, but when they opened the door, the mother was long dead, and no one could have called out. Lily was still alive. Her body temperature had dropped so low it couldn't even be measured, yet she was breathing. Doctors called it a miracle. Medically, she should not have survived, and no one could explain the voice that led to her rescue. One of the officers later said, "I swear on everything I have, I heard a woman say, 'Please save my baby.' Clear as day, as if she was standing right behind me." A similar story unfolded with Alex, a 12-year-old boy who drowned in a lake. When pulled ashore, his heart had not been beating for almost 10 minutes. Every effort to resuscitate him failed, but his mother refused to give up. She held his hand, whispering over and over, "Don't go. You're not allowed to leave me yet." Suddenly, the monitor beeped, a heartbeat. He returned. Later, when Alex was able to speak, he told her something that made her break down in tears. "I flew up really high. There was light. People smiled at me. But you were calling me, and someone pushed me back. A man, I don't know who he was, but he said, 'Your mom needs you. Go back.'" Alex survived without any brain damage, even though doctors said he'd been without oxygen too long. Across the world, stories like these echo the same mystery. From war zones and crash sites to desperate hospital rooms, there are moments when death almost wins, but a soul is pulled back. Science calls it the Lazarus effect, or terminal lucidity. But those who experience it don't feel like it's biological. They see people, they hear voices, they feel hands touching their souls. Hands that don't grip flesh, but grip something deeper, the will to stay. And sometimes, that hand doesn't belong to a loved one or an angel. It belongs to another soul, one that has already crossed over, yet still reaches back. Some say life is the most precious gift. Others believe returning from death is proof we are never truly alone. And perhaps those who come back do so not because they deserve it, but because someone loves them too much to let them fall into the dark. When nothing can be hidden, what the returned want you to know. When the light fades, when hellfire cools, when the gray hallways echo only with the forgotten, what remains is truth. A truth not written in scriptures, not taught in sermons, but spoken by those who died and lived again. They didn't just bring stories, they brought warnings. Like travelers crawling back from the edge of all existence, they saw the abyss waiting for those who walk through life blindly. Nothing can be hidden in death. That's what Anna, a former wealthy businesswoman who died briefly of a stroke, told a room full of other near-death survivors. In that moment, she said every secret became light. Every excuse melted away. I saw myself cheating, lying, ignoring cries for help. Even the tiniest things, like being cold to someone who needed warmth, they all burned into me like fire on my soul. No one judged her, but she judged herself. It's not religion. It is the heart that decides the path. Many believe that prayers, rituals, and good deeds will automatically guarantee salvation. But those who returned say otherwise. No one asked me what religion I followed. They asked, "Have you loved?" A priest who nearly died of heart failure confessed that I thought I was guaranteed a place in heaven. But in that space, I saw the times I refused to forgive. I saw the moments I judged others harshly. I saw how I used God's name to hide my ego. And he wept, not from fear, but from realizing God wasn't in the words I preached. He was in the things I failed to do. Everything is recorded in your soul. A Japanese scientist who was electrocuted in a lab accident described something few others could. When I died, it was like watching my life rewind, not in images, but through the emotions of people I had hurt or loved. I didn't just see myself lie. I felt the pain of the one I lied to. No divine ledger, no scrolls, just your soul writing everything down in silence. And finally, the warning. Nearly all who died and came back speak the same message. It echoes across nations, languages, and beliefs. Live with meaning. Love deeply. Forgive freely. Repent sincerely, because death is not the end. It is the beginning of truth. Some of them withdraw from public life, choosing silence. Some travel the world sharing their testimony, not to terrify, but to wake people up. One man said, "I thought I was in control of my life. But when death came, I realized I controlled nothing, except how much I chose to love others." When the Demon's Gate is no longer a myth, believe it or not, these experiences continue to happen every day all over the world. For those who return, death is no longer a fear, it is a preparation. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to memorize prayers. You only have to live truthfully and love completely. Because truth is never judged. It is simply revealed. And one day, when you stand at the Demon's Gate, you will face yourself. No masks, no excuses, no defenses, just your soul and one final question. Have you truly lived? If you've ever heard someone say they've gone through the gates of hell and back, do you believe it? Leave your thoughts below. And don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel to discover more mysteries that science still can't explain.